Hey, thanks for tuning in to Shameful and Outdoors. This is one of our fish chatter episodes. This is where we talk to other YouTube fishermen, find out what inspired them to start sharing their content on YouTube, find out a little bit about them and their channel and what can we expect to see on their channel, as well as maybe just tell a fish story or two. Hey, today's guest is Brad Hancock from Fish On. Hey, everybody. Our guest today is Brad Hancock from the Fish On YouTube channel. And Brad, thanks a lot for joining us today. And I appreciate you taking the time to have a conversation with us. And anytime we can have a conversation about fishing, it's usually a good conversation. So why don't you tell us a little about you and where you're from and your background?
I appreciate it, Shane. I think you having me on here. I think talking about fishing is second only to actually getting out there and doing it. I'm a retired Navy. I live in the Northern California area near Quantico. I've been here since 2006. When I joined the Navy, I had two goals, and one was to never spend time on a ship, and the other one was never come to DC. And I never really spent any time on a ship, even in 21 years in the Navy. But I did end up in DC, and as much as I didn't want to be here, it's a good place to find a job after the fact. So that's kind of why I stuck around here. And from there, I fished when I was a kid a lot. My dad had a little 10 bass boat, a Fisher Marine, which was kind of the predecessor to the bass tracker boats. And so I grew up fishing with him there. And when I got to be old enough that I could drive, he let me take it out on my own a little bit and went away to college. And I kind of quit fishing for probably close to 20 years. I do a little trout fishing here and there and a little farm pond fishing here and there, but I didn't really do any serious fishing. And then about 2017, I guess, I decided I really wanted to start doing it again and joined a local bass club here called Potomac Bassmasters. Started out without a boat. I had saved up some money to buy myself a boat, and my daughter at that point decided that she wanted a horse. And she and my wife conspired against me, and my boat money went to buy a horse. I mean, it was good for her. It helped her out a lot. She learned how to ride really well. She went to nationals a couple of times. So it was a good thing to spend money on, but I had to wait a couple more years to get my boat. So I fished as a co-angler for a couple of years, then bought my boat, and that's kind of where we are today.
Awesome. So I watched your channel, Brad, and I see you do a lot of fishing down on Lake Anna, a lot of your tournaments. Matter of fact, your last tournament you did real well. Tell us a little bit about, is Lake Anna the only place you like to fish, or where's the other place you like to fish here in Northern Virginia?
Well, like I said, I joined Potomac Bassmasters, and we're actually headquartered out on the Potomac by the name. You might guess that. Probably 60 or 75% of our tournaments go out of Leesylvania State Park. So I spend a good bit of time on the Potomac. I still, quite honestly, haven't learned it very well. The tidal fishing is difficult for me. I'm still trying to figure out how to do that well. But we do have a couple or three tournaments down at Lake Anna every year. We usually have one at Lake Gaston, one at Lake Kerr, and one at the Chickahominy River. And maybe another one thrown in there somewhere or other, but those are the main areas that we fish. And I also started fishing the Sunday morning series down at Lake Anna a couple of times at the end of this year. And a couple of my last videos were either prepping for a Potomac Bassmaster tournament, fishing the Potomac Bassmaster tournament, or fishing that Sunday series. And I have done fairly well this season. I've got, I think, 4 second place finishes and a couple of wins in. So I ended up third in our overall points. There's obviously a couple people that did better than me, but I'm pretty pleased with what I did this year.
Yeah, that is awesome. And you get a few wins, a few seconds, you can't complain about that. And overall,
not at all.
Great. Yeah. So I got to ask you, I did see I think the big bass you had this last video was 5.6 pounds. Is that your biggest bass that you've caught in a tournament?
That's the biggest one I've caught in a tournament. I actually caught my PB early in the year. There's a kid that lives down the street from me that had his parents don't really fish much, and he and I've gotten together, and I've taken him under my wing, and I take him out a few times a year when I get the opportunity to, when I have time off from work and he's not in school or whatever. And we got him out on the Potomac, and he caught a 10.5 pound snakehead, which is the first snakehead that he caught, and he was very pleased with that. And I must say it was great experience watching him catch that snakehead. But I think it was that same day or another trip very similar to then. I caught a 6.5 pound largemouth. So that's my PB largemouth. Like I said, it wasn't in a tournament. The tournament biggest one was that 5.6 one. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. This video will come out probably next week. For me, I had a crazy fishing experience 2 days ago where I was out filming how to set up your new bait caster reel. I got a new bait caster. I thought, well, I'll put that on my channel, how to set the brake and the magnetic brake. And I, casted it a couple times and even said on the video, I was like, hey, I just wanted to show you how to set this up. I don't plan on catching any fish. I turned the video off, Brad. The next cast, I caught a 7-pound bass.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
I got the fish on video, so I'll release it. But it was just a crazy experience. I was just in my local pond here in Seven Lakes. I didn't expect to catch one that big out of there, but the experience of, hey, you can catch a big bass even in December, but if you're not out there casting, you won't catch them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they say the winter is the best time to catch the big ones, and most of us don't do a lot of fishing in the winter, but I think it was February or March when I caught that one on the Potomac, so they're out there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be my next question. Are you going to slow down fishing due to winter, or are you just going to put the boat up until spring? What's your plans?
Yeah, so it's kind of put up right now. I mean, I could go drag it out any day that I wanted to and take it out and fish. And I don't do a lot to winterize it. I just make sure it doesn't have any water in it or anything that's going to freeze in the motor or in the live wells or whatever. But generally, I don't do a lot of fishing from probably mid-November through about February, the middle or end of February. Those are kind of my off months. Occasionally I will drag it out if there's some good weather and do some crappie fishing or something like that, but I don't do a lot of bass fishing during that time period.
Yeah. I'm trying it out this year. I went yesterday, actually, after I caught that big bass, and it was pretty warm yesterday and the wind was blowing out of the southwest. So I went out on Able Lake over here and I did catch a few. And they were, I think the biggest was 2.5, 210, something like that. But it is tough fishing in the winter. You gotta slow down.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest problem that I have is I always want to power fish. I always start off. I mean, if you've watched a few of my videos, pretty much every video I start off with a top water, and I'm dragging something fast and trying to get things to hit it. And if I can get them to do it, I think that's probably how we all like to fish first. But it doesn't take me long till I end up going to the drop shot and slowly dragging it along or something. But I greatly prefer that fast fishing if that's what you can do.
Yeah, I agree with you. I go to power fishing right off, unless I just know it's one of those days, like you said, you have to go slow. But it's always great, especially if you can catch them on top water. It's so fun when you can see those bass bust the top of the water and grabbing your bait. And my last interview was with the Michigan fisherman, and his favorite bait is the whopper plopper.
Yeah.
And I noticed you caught a few on the whopper plopper yourself this past year.
Yeah, I'd have to say the buzzbait is a little bit more of a favorite to me than the whopper plopper, but to me those two are almost interchangeable. If it's open water and there's no grass or anything else, the whopper plopper probably gives you a little bit better hookup ratio. But I like the buzzbait because I can throw it anywhere and I don't really have to worry about it getting stuck much.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like that buzzbait too. So this leads into, what, everybody has their comfort bait. What are you going to go to if you're, going out there first thing? What's the bait you prefer to start throwing?
Well, I mean, like I just said, I pretty much always have that buzzbait tied on. And if I feel like the conditions are decent for it, if the water's 50 degrees or warmer, and there's not a lot of wind, or even sometimes if there is a good bit of wind, I'll start chunking that buzzbait. And if I can get them on that, I'll keep throwing it all day long. But usually that's kind of more of a morning thing, and come midday they'll stop hitting the top water too much. So then I'll switch over to spinner baits. Another power lure for me. I like throwing the spinner bait quite a bit, and I have a lot of crankbaits. I don't throw them a lot. That's something I need to work on. Also need to work on throwing a jig. That's something else that everybody talks about catching big bass on the jig, but I just don't have a lot of confidence in it. I got to spend some time one of these days out there gaining a little confidence in it. Drop shot is something that I do have a lot of confidence in, and people say you're going after the small fish when you do that. But one of my videos down there at Anna, I pulled in a 5.5 pounder on a drop shot, and it essentially won the tournament for us. I like the shaky head a lot too. So I guess those are the main ones. But like every fisherman, I've got way more tackle than I'll ever throw. So
yeah, I'm guilty of. I don't carry a tackle box in my boat. I have a tackle tub. It's just a tub that I have tied down in my boat, and it's overflowing with tackle. But I've heard the same thing about drop shot. People think you're catching small fish on a drop shot, but I mean, it's a bass catcher from big bass to small bass.
You'll get a lot of quantity on it, but you can get some quality on it sometimes too. And that's something else I started probably 2 years ago now. I guess I started pouring some of my own plastics. And again, if you watch my videos, you'll see me mention this is a hand poured worm or something like that. And so I do a lot of drop shotting and a lot of shaky heads that are plastics I poured myself. And there's a very good feeling when you can go out there and you can find the fish out in the open water, and you can throw a bait to them that you've poured yourself, and you can bring some in with it. And that's it's kind of brings it all together for me.
Yeah, I agree. That is awesome. That is awesome. So Brad, if you were to sit back and think about this is kind of where I say, let's tell a fishing story. If you could tell me in your recent memory, or even growing up, whenever it was, what's an epic fishing day for you that just comes to your memory? Maybe it's your biggest bass or the most fish you caught. What would you say was your most epic fishing day?
Well, I'll give you two, and one was taking that kid out and letting him catch that snakehead. And it's kind of funny the way he caught it. We were fishing in some relatively shallow water, and he kind of threw back up into some trash. And that's where the snakehead typically hang out. And he got a backlash when he did it. And we had been power fishing all morning. I was throwing the buzz bait. He was throwing a frog and working it pretty fast. But when he threw that frog back up there and got his backlash, it took him probably 5 minutes to get the backlash out. And the first twitch of that frog, after he got that backlash out, that snakehead just popped it.
Wow.
And so, I mean, it told me we're fishing too fast. We need to slow down. But watching him drag that snakehead in and holding up a 10.5 pound fish after he caught it, I think that was my best day fishing this year.
That's awesome.
My other one that I'll give you is actually me, and that was down at the Lake Chickahominy River. It was one of our Potomac Bassmasters events down there, and I went down there the day before to do a little pre-fishing, and it was a terrible day of pre-fishing. I think I got 2 strikes in about 8 hours, and I don't think I caught either one of them. I think I missed them both. So the next morning I went out and kind of changed up what I was doing a little bit, and I started throwing a spinner bait that was kind of a brum colored spinner bait, and caught one in the first probably 10 minutes that was close to 5 pounds. I think it was about 4.5 pounds. And then from there, I was just swapping back and forth between that spinner bait and a wacky worm. And I think on the day I ended up catching about 15 fish and weighed in just slightly over 15 pounds to win that tournament. So that was the best day I've had out there in a long time. And it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you got a win on top of it too.
I did. Yeah. That's part of what made it the best day.
Yeah. Well, hey, Brad, can you tell us a little bit about your channel, what you can expect when people tune in? And by the way, I'll link your channel down in the comments for everybody to go check out your channel.
I appreciate that, Shane. Yeah. So my channel, it's very, unobtrusive, I guess, is a good way to describe it. It's just me out there fishing usually. And if I have somebody with me, I usually set up 2 cameras. So I have one facing me and one facing them. And I try to capture what they're doing too. A lot of it's tournament footage. So a lot of it, you won't see me, I don't sit down and talk to the camera much. Most of it's just fishing. If you watch most of my earlier stuff, what I'll do is I'll kind of type in, this is what I was fishing with, and this is the condition or whatnot. And then more recently in the last video or last couple of videos, I've started doing a voiceover instead of doing that typing in. And I think the voiceover probably works just a little bit better. So that going forward, that's probably what people can expect from my videos. But, I grew up watching Bill Dance. I don't know. You remember Bill Dance?
Oh yeah. And you got the Bill Dance song on your channel.
Yeah, he was a hero of mine growing up, I guess. I probably learned more about fishing from him than anybody else that I've ever watched or paid attention to. And so my channel is kind of a homage to Bill Dance to a certain extent. Like you said, I've got his theme song on there. And I just want people to be able to, enjoy the fishing to a certain extent, but also hopefully, maybe pick up a tip here or two, tip or two here or there as I'm fishing along. And, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing here, or this is why I decided to change that, or this is not, many times this is what's not working. So that's what you can expect from my channel.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I really enjoy your channel. I watch every episode you put out. I'm always looking for a tip or an advantage, just like any other fisherman is, right? We all can gain experience from just learning from each other a lot of the time. So, well, Brad, thanks a lot for joining us today and sharing some time with us. Good luck on your tournament season coming up for next year. If you plan on fishing, I'm sure you'll do a great job. And again, thanks for joining us today.
I appreciate it, Shane. Thanks for having me on here. And I enjoy watching your channel as well. I do pick up a tip here or there from you as well. So you're right. We can all learn from each other.